The Game Boy library is loaded with titles that are easy to dismiss as downgrades from their console counterparts. At a glance, it's tough to tell the difference between a totally skippable port versus a full-fledged portable entry that can stand on its own alongside bigger siblings. But it's thanks to games like these that the Game Boy has made a bit of a comeback for me lately. Games I've ignored but have finally started getting around to giving a fair shot. So, I recently decided to play through the real third game in the Contra series. Initiate Operation C. When it comes to running and gunning and blowing up aliens, Contra is simply the best in the business. For my money, Contra has got to be the most fun 2D shooter series out there. The first two games, Contra and Super Contra, were adapted to the NES from the arcade, bringing extra levels and more finely tuned gameplay to the home console. Operation C, released for the Game Boy in 1991, became not only the first portable Contra, but also the first Contra to be originally designed for a consumer system. One of the things that I enjoy most about the Contra series is the sense that I've really gotten to know the game through the course of multiple attempts at finishing it. Honestly, I think it's kind of ridiculous that the original Contra appears on so many most difficult game of all time lists. In the grand scheme of things, even among NES games, it's really not one of the most difficult games out there, and I'm not even particularly good at them. But yes, Contra games are hard, and Operation C is no different. You're going to start from the beginning a lot of times. At a glance, it's clear that Operation C takes after the NES games more so than the arcade style. Definitely for the best if you ask me. The most obvious difference is that your horizontal movement speed, running if you will, is a bit slower than the NES games, but you'll get used to it. Aside from that, this really feels like a proper Contra experience. Lots of enemies, bullets flying everywhere, uncompromised action gameplay on the Game Boy. It's impressive, really. Operation C introduced a few cool things that the series took with it into the future. Machine gun is the default weapon? Nice! The homing missiles that you probably used more than you should have in Contra 3 appeared first, right here on the Game Boy. And it works way better than I would have guessed. Probably the best weapon in the game. The signature weapon of the series, the famous spread shot, can actually be upgraded by picking up a second S icon. The spread is way wider with more bullets. But for whatever reason, this upgrade mechanic only applies to the spread shot. Still, this most likely served as the inspiration for the two-tiered upgrade mechanic that applies to every weapon in Contra 4. Best game in the series, by the way. These, plus the fire weapon, the good type with a big explosion, not the stupid, slow, spinny fire thing, are the only weapons in the game. A small assortment, but the nice thing is that you really can't go wrong with any of them. Operation C seems to have provided inspiration for Contra 4 in a few other areas, like the little scene at the start of each level, and Contra 4's harbor definitely seems to resemble Operation C's first level, especially with the submarine boss. Up to this point, the game has been pretty easy so far. If there's one mark against the Contra series, it's that most of the games are intent on offering some sort of alternate gameplay style that, while passable, is simply never as awesome as the side-scrolling stuff. Well, Operation C borrows from Super C and uses its overhead commando style gameplay for levels 2 and 4. I'd have just preferred 2 extra traditional levels instead, but these are fine and work well enough. It's easy to see how you could mistake Operation C as a rehash of the other games in the series. I mean, Level 3 is pretty much just a mashup of the first 2 games' third levels, and the music, while it has its own twists, is for all intents and purposes just recycled for the Game Boy. Where things started getting really tough for me was the end of Level 3. This stupid little jump should not be this hard. I never did manage to hang on to any of the good weapons through Level 5, the final level, but once I figured out that you don't have to worry about platforms squishing you on this elevator, things weren't quite so bad anymore. Despite mostly unoriginal themes and heavy recycling, Operation C's level design is all its own, and will challenge Contra fans that are just looking for another run and gun to master. The boss designs are also completely new, and I thought were pretty good. So sure, it's not the most original Contra game, and its few innovations since became standard for the series. But for me, the most fun part of a Contra game is feeling like you're really getting to know the game over the course of multiple attempts. The famous extra lives codes just don't do them justice. You gotta learn to pick yourself back up after getting beat down and give it another go. It starts off so hard, but as you learn the game and finally beat it, you feel like you could totally do it again. And that's what makes a great Contra game, and even though it's a bit shorter, Operation C delivers.